Hello, dear friends. Sunday, and it's hot. I thought I'd share a little bit with you. Hope you're doing good. Got a story of a beautiful young girl that's closely connected to me. I've known her all my life. And she had said to me, used to, Misty, you talked about how you heard from the Lord and how He was answering your prayers and you saw Him and this, that, and the other and everything. And when I would go away, I didn't know that secretly and quietly she was feeling worthless because she wasn't hearing from the Lord. And she thought, I'm just not worthy enough. I've messed up too big and bad. He's not going to speak with me, and I don't see him in anywhere and anything. And this just isn't for me. And she made the request, and she prayed to the Lord. Lord, I want to know you. I want to hear from you too. I want you to lead and guide me in the way to go and what to do about all these troubles and everything. And she said, though I asked for that, what happened to me was my life went from bad to worse. She lost her health. She was in great pain and she struggled with addiction. She lost her business that she had labored for. Sun up to sundown, putting all these thoughts and hard work into it. She lost that. And she even lost the companionship of her one and only son because she was sick and she wasn't able to care for him. And one by one, family members began to turn away from her. They couldn't help her. They didn't understand. And those that she thought she could always count on, one by one began to fade away from her life. And over the course of a few years, these things transpired, and what ended up was she hit rock bottom. And she came to a place of utter loneliness, depression. She lost all hope. She felt abandoned, despised. And everybody and everything that she'd ever relied on had failed her. But when she hit rock bottom, y'all, when she hit rock bottom, she realized that the Lord had been answering her prayers. He had been. She had wanted to know Him, to recognize Him, to hear from Him, to be able to trust Him. She wanted that. But she didn't realize, through all these circumstances, pain, trouble, and hardship, that He was answering that prayer of hers. She said, I'd had a lot of wrong things done to me in my life. I'd been hurt in every which way you can imagine. Abandoned by my mother as a young child. Beaten and abused by men. Struggled with addiction. And I had become, in my mind, a very strong person, taking up for myself, pushing through anything and everything, strong-willed, determined. I'll make it happen. I don't need anybody. I'll take up for myself. I can do this. I'm strong. And from situation to situation, as life seemed to go from bad to worse, she realized that she wasn't so strong. She found herself utterly alone, depressed, hopeless, hurt, betrayed. And hopeless. And when she hit rock bottom, there, she realized that the Lord had answered her prayer. Because there she realized that there is truly only one who would never leave her side. There at rock bottom, in the deepest and darkest of places, she realized that no one and nothing in this world could be trusted but Him. There at rock bottom, she realized how weak she was. But she realized how strong the Lord was and how faithful that He would be to her. And everything seemed to kind of click and make sense and come together for her for the first time in her life. She found the Lord. She began to realize Him. Looking back, she realized that He was stripping her of that trust and confidence that she had in herself. He was removing from her those in her life that she thought she could always trust and lean on. There at rock bottom, she realized that the Lord was the answer to this life, and that He had been answering her prayer, that she wanted to know Him. I thought that was a beautiful story. I found that for myself also to be true. And I just wanted to put out there the thought in your mind to think about, could the Lord really be answering my prayer and I just don't realize it? Maybe He really is listening to me. Maybe He really does see what's going on. Maybe He really does have a plan that is not my plan. Maybe, as the Bible says, His ways are truly higher than my ways, and the way He thinks and sees things holds no comparison to the way that I do. Because just because we don't recognize Him in a situation, you see, because we don't recognize Him in that hard thing that just happened, we think He's not listening to my prayer. Just because the result that we wanted and hoped for didn't come about, we think He's not listening to me. He's not paying any attention to me. This life isn't for me. I might as well give it up. How many times and how many different things could I tell you that I have asked something of the Lord, but what seemed to come to me was the opposite. I did not realize that the Lord was answering my prayer because it didn't happen the way I thought it should. It didn't come about the way I thought it would come about. Things didn't work out for me the way I'd hoped for. And therefore I thought, the Lord doesn't care. He's not listening. He won't answer my prayer. But the Lord's ways are perfect. He knows what He's doing. We don't. My life hasn't turned out the way that I planned. Has yours? Does that mean that the Lord has abandoned us? That He's not faithful? That His word and His promises aren't true? Just because we don't have the faith to believe that promise, that doesn't mean that He's not faithful to His promise. It just means that we don't yet know Him enough or have enough faith in Him. We don't trust Him enough yet for that. You know what I mean? So if anybody might say today, I can't hear from Him, I challenge that and I say, I bet you really are in that hard circumstance that you wanted to ignore and not think about and shove under a rug. There's the answer to your prayer there. And that person that's driving you crazy, and you say, if this person were out of my life, I could walk this walk with the Lord. If it weren't for them and all the trouble they're causing and what they're putting me through, then everything would be fine in my walk with the Lord. But the Lord knows what He's doing. He's got something to teach you. And He's bringing it about through way of that difficult person. Yeah. In the days going forward, I pray that you'd be able to really stop and think about, consider these things that are happening to you. And just say, is that you, Lord? Are you in this? Are you doing something in me that I can't wrap my mind around? Are you trying to show me something about myself in this situation? Maybe the problem that I think lies within that person is really lying within me. Please show me. He is answering your prayer. And the majority of the time, the way it comes is not the way we thought it would. That's what I found. That's what my friend found. He's the greatest teacher. He has complete control over everything, heaven and earth, and the fullness thereof is His. And what the enemy is meaning for evil in your life, he's meaning it for good. So don't cast it off and rebuke it so quickly. Seek to find the Lord in it and say, what is there for me to learn through this, Lord? He's answering your prayers. He cares. He's listening. Wisdom. The depths of the riches of the wisdom of God. It surpasses our thoughts and our ways. So, I hope by sharing that might could encourage somebody, help somebody, maybe begin to start thinking a little differently about all these things that are facing our lives. Could the Lord be answering my prayer? And I just didn't realize it. I just didn't recognize Him yet in it. You know? So I hope I could help somebody. Praying for y'all. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.